Breaking today, weak King Charles is putting the future of the British royal family under threat by making the, and I'm going to be honest about this, insane decision to hand Buckingham Palace to Prince Harry.
Would he take a room within an institution that he hates so much? Because he's a two-faced liar, that's what he is.
Stop scrolling right now. Read that headline one more time. Prince Harry is heading back to the United Kingdom again, but this time the people inside Buckingham Palace just made a move that Meghan Markle never saw coming. Windsor, that door isn't just closed, it's welled shut behind her face. And what Harry's team is reportedly planning for September is going to expose something they've been hiding from the British public for months. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly why every single palace insider is terrified right now. Only weeks after their secretive summer visit, the one wrapped in NDAs, hidden arrivals, and questions nobody at Buckingham Palace wanted to answer, Harry is reportedly preparing another return. Another flight. Another round of headlines. Another stay directly inside the royal machine his wife spent years attacking on Netflix, on Spotify, on Oprah's couch. Now here's where it gets ugly, and I need you to hear this carefully. New reports say Harry fears Americans no longer like him. Well, if that's true, welcome Americans to the club, because we don't like him either. The latest reports bubbling up overnight. Harry could be offered a room inside Buckingham Palace when he flies back for the Well Child Awards. But Windsor, that door may be firmly, permanently, aggressively shut. Meghan may not be welcome anywhere near the place she once reportedly wanted to call home. Prince William, and listen to this because this part matters more than anything else, made it abundantly, brutally clear that Harry and Meghan cannot be offered accommodation at Windsor Castle. And I think that's important, really important, because it tells us something the palace press office will never admit on the record. There is not even 1 inch of thawing happening between the brothers. William doesn't want to risk an unexpected encounter with Harry, especially with Meghan. Harry could be heading straight into the palace gates while his wife is left thousands of miles away in California, watching him reclaim the one single thing their American reinvention could never, ever replace: royal access. That's the product. That's always been the product. Sources last night, and these sources, trust me on this, said Harry himself via Liam Maguire, indicated he will accept the fresh offer to stay at the palace well in advance this time. But it is not yet known if Meghan, along with Archie and Lilibet, will come over with him again. Oh great, oh goody, so we're going to have the will they won't they circus all over again while the royal family gets dragged through another week of tabloid hell. But in the meantime, let's just put more pressure on Ravik. God, this is boring. It's not boring, it's calculated. So what exactly is happening here? Let me lay out the 3 possibilities and you tell me which one scares you the most. Option 1, Harry is quietly rebuilding a life in Britain without Meghan beside him. A solo reconciliation, a slow walk back through the gates. Option 2, Meghan is preparing to return with him and turn another private visit into a global publicity event the size of which we haven't seen since Megxit. Option 3, and this is the one insider sources are whispering about right now. The Sussexes are using the palace itself as the final rescue plan for a brand that keeps losing heat every single time Meghan tries to stand on her own. And before you write this off as gossip, listen to what I'm about to tell you. This is a last resort. They are concerned about money. They spend millions of dollars on private security every single year, not thousands, millions. Harry is going to have to pay out millions more for the Daily Mail loss. And I've heard straight from sources close to Harry's team that everyone is sweating regarding that money. We're going to find out how much they owe later this month. But right now, sweating profusely. And when I look at Harry's future, and you should too, I see a man whose skills are very, very limited. Because this is not just another family visit. This is a power move, a branding opportunity, and potentially the most dangerous mixed signal Harry and Meghan have sent since the day they walked away from royal duty. The basic report on its surface sounds simple. Harry is expected back in Britain in September for engagements connected to the Well Child Awards. He's coming for the Well Child Awards. I believe he's coming back by himself. King Charles will offer Prince Harry a room at Buckingham Palace when he returns to the UK in the coming weeks. On his previous visit, he did not stay at Buckingham Palace. This time, reports claim the offer will be made again and that Harry plans to accept it early instead of allowing another accommodation drama to explode around him. But nothing involving Harry and Meghan stays simple for long. This is madness, pure, calculated, brand-driven madness. The reason Harry was not allowed to stay at Buckingham Palace on the most recent visit, he intended to use it to make a political statement against the Daily Mail and the British judiciary. So let me ask Charles this directly, what's he going to do next time? You don't know, Charles, you never know. That's the problem. Before we continue, 1 second. Organizing your family's most important information is one of those things most of us know we should do but keep putting off. That's exactly why there's the family vault. One place to organize documents, insurance, medical info, passwords, and more, so when life punches you in the face, everything is right where you need it. Link is in the description. QR code on your screen. Back to the story in 3 seconds. Go. Now, the moment Harry is photographed entering Buckingham Palace, the story will no longer be about a charity event. It will be about whether he is back, whether the royal door has reopened, whether the man who left Britain sold private stories to Netflix called the institution racist and built an entire American identity around escaping royal life, is now walking straight back into its most recognizable building. But I'm asking Charles directly, do you not understand what's happening? Do you not look at the polls? Do you not see what they show? That the monarchy is in real measurable peril, and I'm not someone who spreads hate about the British monarchy or wants to cause trouble. I love this institution. But I'm being brutally realistic here, Brittany, looking at the polls, seeing the lack of support. And understanding that the king is about to go ahead with a decision that, let's just be brutal about it, the vast majority of the British public do not want. And Meghan does not need to be standing next to him to benefit. She only needs the images of palace gates opening for her husband, one photograph, that's all it takes. Suddenly people will ask, will she join him? Is another private reunion coming? Are the Sussexes suddenly closer to royal life than anyone was told? That uncertainty, that's not a problem for them, that's the whole business model. If this offer is confirmed, he would once again be staying inside one of the most recognizable royal residences in the world. This is not a room. This is a brand photo op. This is all about a few clicks. You are both part of a couple who publicly said the monarchy is racist and everything about it is fundamentally wrong. Why are you now crawling back? That is exactly why the Windsor report matters so much. According to commentary surrounding this story, Harry and Meghan may not be offered accommodation at Windsor. There is reportedly strong personal resistance to having them anywhere near the family homes there. Let me be clear, that is not an official palace statement and must be treated as a report, not a confirmed ban, but the message is brutal even as a possibility. Because only a few years ago, Harry and Meghan had actually asked to live in Windsor Castle. Yeah, they asked. So if they were offered Windsor Castle to stay when they visit the UK, that would be considered a massive win for them. We know they personally approached Queen Elizabeth herself and she said, and I'm paraphrasing, "No, I live in Windsor Castle. I do not want you to live in Windsor Castle. You can have Frogmore Cottage." So now, supposedly, Prince William has put his foot down, hard. I don't want them anywhere near Windsor. If I stumble upon him, I wouldn't even acknowledge him. Buckingham Palace may open for Harry. Windsor stays closed to Meghan. Now think about how humiliating that visual would be. Meghan once entered royal life expecting status, influence, and a permanent place near the center. She and Harry reportedly wanted Windsor Castle before they were given Frogmore Cottage. Now Harry may be welcomed into Buckingham Palace for a short visit, while Meghan cannot even be certain she would be allowed near Windsor without causing panic behind the scenes. And Harry may be coming alone. I have a hard time believing he's trying to come back to the UK as a working royal. You don't behave like that running to a rugby podcast, calling an entire nation racist, suing the Home Office, and think there's still a door open for you. You don't get to torch the house and then complain the guest room is cold. If Meghan stays in California, Harry gets the biggest royal headline they've had in months without her. He gets the palace. He gets the charity appearance. He gets the speculation about private meetings. He gets to look like the son being slowly, cautiously, tentatively welcomed back. And what does Meghan get? Another lifestyle post, another product launch, another carefully staged kitchen moment that will be obliterated the second Harry's car is seen near Buckingham Palace. He treats it as if this is some big loss to humanity, that Meghan Markle is not available for paparazzi shots or for staged public photos. When in reality, I think there was a huge sense of relief from the Invictus organizers that they didn't have to deal with that circus. That is the problem Meghan cannot solve. She can launch a show, pose with flowers, speak about cooking, motherhood, family life, but the second Harry appears next to a palace gate, every other story vanishes. His royal history still carries more global weight than anything Meghan has created since leaving. And she was sad not to be seen in public. I'm not convinced about that. I suspect, and call me cynical if you want, that she was terrified of what would have happened if she'd shown her face in public. She would have been booed by the very British public she called a nation of slave drivers and racists. She would have reaped exactly what she sowed. And MasterChef just proved it. MasterChef just proved it. Meghan finally received a major television appearance built around her own lifestyle image. This should have been her moment. She was the guest. She was the celebrity judge. She was the woman with the cooking show, the lifestyle brand, the carefully polished image of effortless California elegance. Then Harry appeared on a video call. Sorry to interrupt, we've had a phone call to studio. Hi, my love. Good, hi, my husband's here. Suddenly, the conversation was not about Meghan's food knowledge, not about her judging, not even about the contestants. It was about Harry, the royal husband, appearing on the screen. Commentators immediately questioned whether the call had been planned and mocked the idea that producers had somehow connected him to the studio in a completely spontaneous moment. No way, let's go live to Reed Butler in LA. Reed, just how on earth did this happen? I know, what a coincidence, right? Thank goodness the team at MasterChef were filming for that totally random, natural, unscripted moment when Harry called Meghan. Whether viewers believed it or not, the scene exposed the same uncomfortable truth. When Meghan's solo moment needed a bigger spark, Harry and his royal identity were dragged in. Now the same thing is happening again on a much, much larger scale. Meghan's MasterChef appearance has barely finished airing, and Harry is already taking over the publicity cycle with Buckingham Palace. Now no one is seriously suggesting a father shouldn't see his son, or shouldn't see his grandchildren. Of course not. The grandfather should see his grandchildren. The concern is whether private reconciliation quietly becomes a pathway toward the half-in, half-out arrangement Harry and Meghan originally wanted, and the late Queen personally rejected. She spent months preparing a television moment designed to prove she could command global attention without the royal family. A few days later, one report about Harry sleeping inside a palace has swallowed the entire conversation. And Meghan, mark my words, knows exactly how valuable that palace connection is. Look at what happened after the recent UK visit. The trip was surrounded by secrecy. Questions about who traveled, where they stayed, what happened privately, whether any moments were photographed or filmed. Wake up, Harry doesn't know how to behave. What more is it going to take for you to realize that? Think about the most recent visit. From the statement about the whitewash in the judiciary to the Joe Marler podcast, he proved beyond any doubt that he has never learned how to behave. Then Meghan released images connected to Althorpe, turning what had been presented as a deeply private family visit into public social media content. That is why critics are already nervous about Buckingham Palace. Nobody is claiming Meghan will walk through the palace taking photographs. Nobody has confirmed she will even attend. But after the Althorpe images, the question is unavoidable. But why should we allow him to keep the door open when he slagged everything off about the royal family? Unless he's worked out his wife is a witch and he wants out. If Meghan does come, how long before the visit becomes part of her public story? A carefully cropped photograph, a vague caption about home, legacy, healing, a blurred background that sends royal watchers into a frenzy. She would not need to reveal a single private conversation. One image near a palace entrance could dominate the internet for days. And even if she stays away, Harry's presence can still be packaged as a Sussex victory. The king's gesture was a positive sign of relations with the Sussexes continuing to get better. Sorry, Joabo, I love you, but there is nothing positive about this for me. It's not a positive sign. Seriously, who thinks that having Harry and Meghan within the fold, staying at the center of the monarchy, is a positive sign? It's madness. That is the genius of the situation for Meghan, and the danger for everyone trying to keep the lines clear. The palace can insist this is private accommodation for a short visit. Harry and Meghan can allow the public to imagine something far bigger. They do not need an official role. They do not need a balcony. They do not need a formal announcement. They only need the optics of Harry driving through those gates. Perception becomes the product. That's the line. Tattoo it on your forehead. And Harry desperately needs that product right now. Right now, what we're seeing is the last resort. If Harry and Meghan had a blossoming Netflix career and were launching, remember these: Meet Me at the Lake, The Wedding Date, and the Afghanistan movie I can never remember the name of to save my life. If they were excited about new projects on the horizon, and Spotify was still pumping millions into them because they were reliable content creators, then there is no way in hell Prince Harry would be crawling on his knees, begging Daddy to take him back. Kinsey Schofield described Harry's latest movement toward Britain as a possible last resort. The argument is simple and brutal. If Harry and Meghan were dominating Hollywood, producing hit after hit, signing new deals and building a powerful independent empire, Harry would not need to keep crawling back toward the institution he abandoned. But that empire never became what they promised. Spotify ended badly. Netflix did not transform them into unstoppable producers. Meghan's lifestyle projects keep generating noise, but the noise often comes from controversy rather than success. The palace will hopefully be conscious of keeping family reconciliation separate from any suggestion of an official royal return. However, the optics make it look like Harry's back in the game. If you've got shots of him coming in and out of Buckingham Palace, perception is reality. And the people who threw money at him to disparage his family, Netflix, Spotify, they're all reading the same headlines. Harry's back in the fold. Harry's public appearances increasingly depend on stories about his family, his security, his status, his old life, or his desire to return. They escaped royal duty, but they never escaped royal dependence. And the bills did not disappear when the titles moved to California. Their security costs remain enormous. From Camp Harry and Meghan, Harry has finally dropped the campaign that he won't continue to insist on armed police protection whenever he comes to Britain for him and his family, because he's trying to mend the bridges he broke. But the Mirror is reporting something totally different. Prince Harry is reportedly set to continue his campaign for taxpayer-funded security in the UK, amid hopes he could visit more with his family. Make up your mind, Harry. Harry's legal battles have been expensive. Commentators are openly questioning how long the current lifestyle can continue without another major payday. That does not prove they are broke, and wild numbers should not be treated as fact. But the pressure is obvious. They live like global royalty while producing far less than the public expected from two people who once promised a media empire. Harry has a title but no clear career. Meghan has a brand that still leans on that title. Their fame remains powered by the royal connection they claimed they needed to escape. It sits badly with me. It would sit better with me if he stood up to his wife and said, "This is where I come from, this is what I believe in, you're going to be a part of this, you might not like it." But he ran out of this country, slagged everything off, and now seems to want to come back. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. He's using, presumably, the argument that he wants a relationship with his father. That's the cover story, that's the shield, and everyone in the palace knows it. Harry goes back. He goes back for child security battles, private meetings, and reconciliation headlines. Now he may go back to Buckingham Palace itself. That is not a small detail. That is the entire business model coming full circle. They sold freedom from the monarchy. Now the monarchy may be the only product they have left. The biggest question, and please think about this carefully, is whether Meghan sees Harry's return as a threat or an opportunity. These charities that are fueled so much by important volunteers, they spent months preparing for you to make a visit. There was the story about how the school, I believe it was in Brooklyn or New York somewhere, had to repaint the room Meghan was going to be in. Had to purchase throw pillows because Meghan had a very, very clear visual she wanted when she came in to read the children. You cancelled, so those. But wait, let's go back to Harry. If he travels alone, he gets time in Britain without her controlling every public detail. He can rebuild old relationships. He can attend events without turning them into a joint Sussex production. He can remind the world that before Meghan, before California, before the streaming deals, he belonged to something far bigger than their brand. Would Meghan really be comfortable with that? Her entire American project was built around the two of them as a unit. Harry was the prince who chose her. Their love story was the foundation. Their interviews, their documentary, their public appearances, their complaints, their legal battles, all depended on the idea that they face the world together. They are the Sussexes. They are the brand. Splitting that brand in half splits the value in half. I think that's one of those statements you have to make when so many people put effort into your visit and you cancel at the last minute. They realize they have wasted time, money, and resources. Had she not said, "I was sad, I was disappointed," she would look like the tyrant we believe she is. Which is just whatever. This was for my benefit anyway. This was for positive press for me. Which is ultimately what I think she was really trying to accomplish with any UK engagement. But a solo Harry returning repeatedly to Britain creates a different image. A man slowly reconnecting with the life he abandoned while Meghan remains outside the gates. That image could become more powerful with every visit. First, a private family reunion, then another trip, then Buckingham Palace accommodation, then possible future events linked to the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's passing. None of those steps confirms a permanent return, but together they build a road. and Meghan may not be standing in the middle of it. That is why the possibility of a Windsor block feels so explosive. It separates Harry from Meghan in the clearest visual way possible. Harry is still blood, Harry may still receive a room, Harry may still be allowed private access. Meghan gets the gate. Why is it that this guy thinks he can do things like this? He cast the die, didn't he? He ran away 8 years ago, proceed to sit there with his wife trashing this country, trashing the royal family, calling the family racists, calling this nation slave drivers, and then he expects us to all go, oh well, that's all forgot, you're back in the fold. That is not doable, period. Meghan is the risk. Meghan is the person whose presence creates questions about cameras, photographs, leaks, commercial projects, and whether every private moment will later become content. Fair or not, that is the suspicion surrounding her. And she created part of that suspicion herself. Every time Meghan speaks about privacy and then releases carefully selected private images, the contradiction grows. Every time she tries to distance herself from royal titles and is then introduced as the Duchess of Sussex, the contradiction grows. On MasterChef, she reportedly told the host, "Welcome, do we call you Duchess? Oh, call me Meghan." Moments later, the show still presented her through the title, because that title is the attraction. Without it, she is another former television actress judging food on a reality show. With it, she is royalty entering the kitchen. She cannot reject the institution and keep demanding the value of its name forever, without people noticing. Harry faces the same exact contradiction. He has spent years attacking the system, challenging decisions, and presenting Britain as unsafe for his family. Weak King Charles is putting the future of the British royal family under threat by making the, and I'm going to be honest about this, insane decision to hand Buckingham Palace to Prince Harry in just a matter of weeks after everything he's done. Yet, when a palace room becomes available, reports suggest he may accept it. He wants the protection, the symbolism, the status of royal accommodation while continuing battles that keep him in conflict with the same country. That is why critics are calling him two-faced. He wants distance when distance makes him money. He wants access when access makes him important. He wants to be independent when independence sounds brave. He wants to be royal when royalty opens doors Hollywood no longer can. You can't be a 41-year-old man, a father, without anything to do. It's not good for you. He's a full-time dad, part-time surfer, part-time pot smoker, and what else? I don't know, but he's a duke. Remember that? That's what he concluded he did for a living. He's a duke. That's it. Good, isn't it? Well, I've met dogs named Duke who have more responsibility than Prince Harry and more intelligence as well. I hazard a guess the next danger is what happens after Harry gets inside. There is already fresh speculation about a possible follow-up to Spare. Him and Meghan, they've got all these legal troubles. Financial troubles, of course, they've got no money. And now we've got award-winning journalist Paula Froelich telling News 24 that the Duke is considering a follow-up, Spare 2, and that this is how they're going to get their next payday. Oh, goodness me, look, it wouldn't surprise me, I've got to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he went down this path. And I was worried during his UK visit that he was there to collect material when he was catching up with the King and the Queen. Nothing has been confirmed. Harry has not announced a second book, but the idea is enough to make any private meeting uncomfortable. Every conversation can become a future paragraph. Every awkward moment can become a grievance. Every family detail can become another interview answer when the next contract appears. That is why some commentators are even discussing whether Harry should be asked to sign a confidentiality agreement before private royal meetings. That sounds extreme when we're talking about a son seeing his family. But Harry destroyed, personally, permanently, irreversibly, the assumption that private moments would remain private. Spare included intimate stories that other people never agreed to publish. His interviews turned personal conflict into global entertainment. What else could he complain about? Honestly, what else is in there? In the original Spare book, there were so many things that were just the small bedroom in Sandringham. You're in a royal palace, you got the smallest bedroom. Strange things he focused on. This is where I think William and Catherine are particularly smart, because they know there is always this risk he is scouting for material. Before we continue, one thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's why I keep recommending the Family Vault, simple, printable, fillable, where you keep everything from documents and insurance to medical info and passwords. Link in description. QR code on screen. Back to the story in 3 seconds. A normal reconciliation would happen privately. Harry would attend his event and leave. But Harry and Meghan's relevance depends on the public watching every move. Harry is deeply regressing. He wants to reverse Megxit. Is he going to do it? No. Silence does not build their media brand, mystery does, and right now they have created the perfect mystery. Will Meghan come or will Harry travel alone? Will Buckingham Palace open while Windsor stays closed? Will another carefully timed photograph appear after the trip? And will this become the first visible step toward the half-in, half-out arrangement they originally wanted? That last question matters most. The late Queen rejected the idea that Harry and Meghan could represent the monarchy when convenient while building a private commercial empire overseas. But what if they can now create the appearance of that arrangement without receiving it officially? Harry stays at the palace. Meghan keeps the California business. They use royal proximity when it helps. They avoid royal duties when it does not. They remain private citizens while selling the image that the institution still considers them important. That would be half in, half out by optics alone, and optics are all Meghan needs: a palace car, a glimpse through a gate, a vague social media post about home and forgiveness enough to revive global interest in Meghan's brand. This, I'm afraid, folks, is a weakness that Prince William has always feared his father would show, but there is also a risk Meghan may not be able to control. The more Harry returns alone, the easier it becomes for the public to imagine a future without her beside him. The more comfortable he looks in Britain, the weaker the story becomes that America saved him. The more he depends on royal access, the more obvious it becomes that Meghan's great reinvention did not give him a stronger identity. It stripped one away and failed to replace it. Harry left as one of the world's most recognized princes. In California, he became a podcast guest, a legal campaigner, a man repeatedly explaining why his old life hurt him. Buckingham Palace instantly restores the image he lost. That must terrify Meghan as much as it excites her, because the palace can rescue their relevance, but it can also remind everyone that Harry never needed her to be important. She needed him. MasterChef made that painfully clear. Her solo appearance still required a Harry moment. Her lifestyle identity still required the Duchess title. Her private UK story still required royal locations. Her biggest headlines still come from where Harry goes, who Harry sees, and whether Harry is being welcomed back. Now he is preparing to return again, and Meghan may be locked out of the most sensitive part of the story. So do not mistake this for a simple room offer. This is Harry testing whether Britain will take him back one visit at a time. This is Meghan calculating how much royal access she can turn into attention without triggering another backlash. This is a couple who told the world they were finished with palace life, discovering that palace life may be the only thing still capable of saving their global brand. Harry may walk through the gates of Buckingham Palace in September. Meghan may join him, stay in California, or remain far away from Windsor. She may release nothing or just enough to set the internet on fire. But whichever choice they make, the truth is already visible. Harry and Meghan did not build a new world powerful enough to replace the old one. They spent years selling their escape. Now they're selling the way back in.